one thing that I've learned being vegan and plant-based is that you always think that your choices, your recipes and everything are going to be limited. And it's totally the opposite. When you go vegan and start learning more about produce and spices and all of this wonderful plant-based world, you're going to learn how vast it is. I mean, I had no idea that there were more than 800 different types of legumes, or that there were so many types of rice and so many spices. And so it's a huge world, and it's worth diving into it.
Hola y bienvenidos. Welcome to Molé Mama Cooking with Love. You're about to join us for our weekly adventure where we chat with food bloggers, entrepreneurs, and chefs who are helping us to connect, to learn, to be inspired, and together we're spreading love one bite at a time. I am super excited about today's guest. I have Alejandra from Brown Sugar and Vanilla. She has this amazing, stunning website with vegan Mexican recipes that are both in Spanish and in English. And if you haven't checked her out, go and do that now. Her recipes have been featured on HuffPost, on One Green Planet, and so many other amazing websites. And she also has a professional certification in vegan cooking that we're going to learn more about. So with that, welcome to Molé Mama, Alejandra.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's delighted to have you here. And can you tell us a little bit about your amazing website and this brand that you built around vegan cooking? Because your site is so beautiful. I just wanted to hit delivery. So that's what I looked at it. So.
That's a great idea. I would love to have that business.
Yes.
Well, it's a bilingual blog. It's Piloncillo Vainilla in Spanish, Brown Sugar and Vanilla in English. And I started this blog 7 years ago. And it all started because my son was born. When he was born, he had dairy allergies. So, but he's 19 now. So this was like 15 years ago, more than we noticed that he had his allergies. So I started cooking without dairy. I started cooking in a more, plant-based, but in a more integrative way, like with whole ingredients, close to nature, real food, removed all chemicals and things that didn't serve us from our diet. But obviously this was like 15 years ago, right? I have some like 15 years ago. And my friends and everybody around me were like, you're crazy. How do you not feed your kids right? You're not giving them dairy. They're gonna crumble as they walk because their bones are gonna just, disintegrate and stuff like that. And I continued my path. We felt so good. Santiago cleared up his allergies. Everybody at home, I had 2 more girls after him, and they had like no problems, nothing. So I was like, when you know, right? I really knew that I was in the right path. And like 10 years ago or more, my friends started calling me like, hey, my youngest has a dairy allergy. How do you cook this? And how do you do that? And how do you deal with this? And all those questions that I had at the beginning and that I had nobody to answer for me, my friends were asking me. So I spent tons of time on the phone, and I would like just add a little bit, or do this or do that, or stuff like that. And we were here in we were living in Houston by then. And my husband, one day, he was like, you know what, this has to stop. You have to put all your recipes, everything you know, just write a blog. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I went to Googled what's a blog, and I started. And I mean, from there, it just like one step at a time, one day at a time, it keeps growing. So that's the story.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Now, when you were talking about your friends saying that, your children's bones were going to crumble without dairy, I grew up on a dairy farm. So I could see my mother going, no, because I had, one of her rules was that we had to drink milk until we were 18. So I always, and I I didn't like the flavor of milk. Now I love cheese and ice cream, but I like when I turned 18, I was so excited not to drink milk
To
anymore.
stop. Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
on a farm, so it was fresh and it hadn't been pasteurized yet or anything like that. But still, that's pretty remarkable that long ago. Was it a doctor or somebody that first said maybe it's
You
his
know,
diet?
my husband, I mean, the minute that he was born perfect, healthy, and everything. And like 2 days later, I think, probably more, because we were at home, like 3 days later, he started with some issues, like reflux, and then his skin got very sensitive and started like with small things. And my husband is allergic to dairy also. So my
Oh,
mother-in-law told me, you know what? I think that he's allergic. I think that he's allergic. And, he was my first one. You don't want to listen to anybody. You just want to do the things that at your way. And I'm very stubborn. So I was like, nope. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to keep breastfeeding and keep breastfeeding. But nobody told me you have to stop eating cheese or you have to stop drinking. I don't drink milk, but I ate cheese. Or cooking with butter or eating dairy. Because once you start reading all the labels on the products that we eat, you find tons of dairy and tons of things that have dairy in them. So I was like, no, no. And then I took him to the doctor, and the doctor told me, you know what? Let's stop with the breastfeeding for a bit and let's try something else. And then we started like with formulas, but he was so allergic that he was even allergic to soy milk.
mm.
So we had to start with new things and everything. But I mean, it never clicked until he was like I think like 2 years old, probably. Like, no, because they told me, after a year he's going to be okay. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. So the day that he turned like 1 year, I'm like, he's cured, right? He's going to be able to have a
Mhm.
normal diet and everything. So like I started introducing dairy, not milk, but dairy into his diet. And he started with all these problems and allergies and ear things and respiratory issues. So I was like, you know what? Something clicked in me, and I was like, let's stop. And he improved. And then I remember one day I was feeding him cookies, cookies, babies. How do you call them? The ones that they eat when they're teething.
They're just teething crackers. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
the teething crackers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I turned around the box and I was like, oh, this have dairy in them. And then I started like reading more. And then a friend lent me some books. And, like everything started to click and like click in me. So that's when I slowly started, and I was like, oh, so his allergies are not just for a year, as the doctor said. And then I got pregnant with my second daughter, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna eat or drink or nothing with dairy to see how it goes. Um, and she was born perfectly well, no allergies, nothing. And I was like, oh, this is something. So with my third one, I mean, I was completely vegan, and well, probably I was like not completely vegan, but I was having like no dairy and probably a vegetarian, but a very strict one. So, and then she was perfect. So it clicked, and I was like, oh, this is it.
Well, that's amazing that you figured
Yeah.
out how to basically cure your son and to help and to keep him healthy. So, congratulations for that
Thank
because
you.
there's several of my family members are allergic to nuts. And so,
Yeah.
very similar, where so much of the packaging, you have to be so incredibly careful. They were here last weekend and I had made some salsa and they were having chips. And my little niece's eyes started swelling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a new type of chip. And, you know,
Yeah.
if they're using nuts in the factory. So, I mean,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
it's,
crazy. And
yeah.
kids, I'm glad that this happened like so long ago, because I think that as year goes by, kids are getting more and more sensible to things. So my kids, they weren't like allergies that they developed or showed like in the moment. It was like long term show, it took like a week or more to start showing on their skin, or with ear infections or breathing problems or stuff like that. So I mean, that's a good side of it.
Yes.
I had time to figure it out.
Okay, so how did you learn how to cook then? Did you cook with your family, or how did that all happen?
I've always been, I like to say that I was born a vegetarian because I never
Okay.
liked the taste of meat or the way it made me feel. So I grew up in a very, very foodie family. Thank God my mom was very picky. So everything, we always had like amazing meals. Like uh, we had the soup, and then we had the main dish, and then the dessert, and sometimes we had appetizers. So in my family, like sitting down to eat as Mexicans, it's a very big thing, right? Every single day it was a big thing, just being together and sharing the table and everything. So the food was always like very it was nice. It was a nice meal. And so when I was growing up, I was like, "Ugh, I don't like chicken. Ugh, I don't like meat. I don't like, but I ate it because my dad is very strict, so we had to, right? But as I said, my mom was very picky. So the meat was always lean. It was always perfect. Chicken was like just the breasts and nothing else. So it was always like really taken care of. But when I married, I was like, oh, this is my time to take away meat and stuff from my cooking. So I slowly started, and when my kids were when we noticed that they were allergic, so I started like swapping ingredients and like being creative. But when we got here to live in the United States, and I decided that this was something that I wanted to do, I found this course online. That's a 6-month program where they teach you basically everything. It's like it's intense, and it's like being it's a course for a chef, but for plant-based. So it's totally different because you don't learn how to butcher, you don't learn how to all the parts of the animals, but you learn all the cooking methods and how to cut and how to everything else. So that gave me a stronger base to start developing more and more recipes.
Yeah, because there are so many great recipes on your website. I was like,
Thank you.
she's making vegetarian pozole, she's making enchiladas, she's like, she's doing all
Yes,
these, and I'm like, okay.
everything.
So it's just great. And I have definitely been, because I grew up on a farm and we raised
Yeah,
animals. So I grew up, my mom's father was a butcher. So
yeah,
she knew how to do all that. So I grew up definitely eating a lot of meat in my diet. And so as I've been trying to do more plant-based, but I can't give up the cheese. Like the cheese is just, I can't
yeah.
do it. Um, but for you, what are some of your most popular recipes on your website?
Um, I have a vegan Mexican lentil soup that it's like the typical lentil soup that I think everybody grew up with. My mom used to add sausages to it. I swap them and I add carrots to it. So it's the same way my mom cooked it, but instead of, and it has vegetables and everything, but instead of having sausages, it has carrots. And the other is a vegan banana bread. So I make this banana bread, but instead of using eggs, we use apple puree, and it's delicious, and it's so easy. It's just one bowl, you mash everything, you mix it, and you bake it. So it's delicious.
Okay. My husband loves banana bread. I might have to try that one. And
Yeah,
we
you
love
have
lentil
to.
soup. We love it. So we also
Yeah.
eat all different types of lentils. Um, and I also saw on your website that you have an ebook. Can you
Yes,
tell our
I have two
listeners?
ebooks.
Oh, you have two.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I have two ebooks. When I started all of this, Piloncillo Vainilla and the blog, and started being vegan and stuff, this was way before it was like trendy, right? To
Mhm.
be vegan or have a plant-based diet. Um, but a lot of people ask me, so how do I get there? How do I do this? And how, and as me, as you, like many people said, I can't give up cheese. And so I figured that I got to this point. It took me a long time. It wasn't just that I woke up and said like, okay, I'm not eating this. So it was like a process of reading and doing a lot of things. And I also noticed that we in Spanish, there's so much information needed because
Mhm.
in English you have this amazing, like in the United States, we're always like 10 years ahead of other probably less now with all the internet and social media platforms and stuff like that, but we're always ahead, right? So in Mexico there were a lot of people that were starting and that they think that I'm still crazy. And, so I decided to write a book that it's basically like 21 steps because it takes like 21 days or 21 things actions to create a habit, right? So I divided everything that I've done in 21 steps, and I wrote about that. And it's, for example, the first step is like you have to breathe and accept what you are. So you love to eat meat, you love to eat chicken, you love to eat dairy. That's okay, but you're in a great place because you want to add more vegetables, or you want to sleep better, or so just acknowledging where you want to be, that's the first step, right? And then from there I take you to let's go shopping, or how to include your kids in the kitchen, or how to include your kids while shopping, or tips and tricks to swap ingredients or menus or stuff like that. So I wrote everything that I do, and at the end I'm not like trying to make everybody vegan. I'm just trying to make everybody try one vegetable a day, or one vegan meal a day, or one vegan meal a week, or so it's just the little changes that create the big change. So that's the first one. And the other one, it's 32 smoothies. And the idea of calling it 32 smoothies is to have like one smoothie, one different smoothie a day during 1 month, and you have one extra to just swap it up. And that ebook has like 32 recipes, smoothie recipes. It has granola recipes. It has some fun games like for the kids, like like the maze, like from the fruit bowl to the blender, how to get there, or color your favorite fruits, or tic-tac-toe but with fruits, so they can like start getting used to fruits and vegetables and to start drinking smoothies. And what else does it have, that ebook? It has printable cards, so I made all the recipes in printable cards, so you just can have them like in the kitchen and just really fast. um yeah, I mean, the main goal of both ebooks is to make eating healthier, just one meal at a time, easier for everybody. So that's the main goal.
Okay, I have to definitely check them out in detail because I love that. I love that
Yeah,
you're helping people acknowledge where they are and, just trying to kind of get them there because I've had so many friends that decide to try to be vegan and they just stop. They stop eating meat.
yeah,
And they'll be like, okay, it's been 10 days or now it's been, and they're miserable because they're like, I
yeah,
can't.
I know.
So that is fantastic that you did that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
really
It's like
nice.
what, and I totally understand that veganism is not for everybody, and that's okay.
Mhm.
I mean, in my family, I'm the only one that's 100% vegan. My household is vegan, but my kids are not. My kid now lives in college in Indiana, and I believe he's not vegan anymore. you know,
No, that's
and
you
and that's okay. I mean, he has the basics. He
mm,
has he's healthy, so I know that he knows what makes him feel better. So that's it's information. I mean, you take what you want, right?
and that's a really great lesson to understand that we are in
Yeah.
control of how we feel based on what we put in our bodies. We
Yeah,
really are.
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
think when I was looking through your website, the other thing I noticed is because I want to talk to you about this is that I I am not vegan, but I'm really about real food
Yeah.
and no preservatives and really looking at what I'm cooking and cooking from real food. And I wanted to talk about that because I saw that you have a burger on your website, a recipe for a plant-based burger. And I know there's a lot of vegan products out there right now that are not healthy. So can you share with our listeners about that and what they should be looking for when they're looking for plant-based food?
Yeah, well, I truly believe that it's an 80-20 balance, right? In everything that we do. If you eat like 80% whole foods, whole vegetable, whole fruits, and if you can, organic and grains and beans and whole grains and beans, uh, you always have like that 20% for, I call them the cheating times. So with that said, is right now there are a lot of products that are like burgers, cheese, ham, tons of other products like they fake chicken and all of those things that are not necessarily healthy for every day, right? So if you're just went vegan and you're craving a hamburger, go ahead and have your hamburger. Nothing's gonna happen, right? But you can't eat that every single day, right? As I always said to my kids when they were young, a piece of broccoli is not going to save you, and a piece of candy is not going to kill you. So it's like balance, right? So the
Mhm.
same as adults and with all these products. I mean, if you have like a whole, let's say lasagna, we have a homemade sauce, and we have the vegan ricotta that you made with cashews or other tofu or other ingredients, and then you have tons of vegetables, and it doesn't matter if it has a little bit of cheese, you know what I mean, a fake
Yes.
cheese. But if you have like everything fake, that's the problem. So that's
Mhm.
the approach I take with all these products. It's like, just be mindful that it's okay to eat them, but once a week or once a month or once a day, but balance it out with all the other good and fresh ingredients, right?
Mhm. So is there anything when you are looking at any packaged products that you try to stay away from in your diet?
Yeah, normally what I do is like I go by the 5 ingredient rule normally. So, and I try to know all the ingredients that I'm reading. As long as you can pronounce them, you know that they're real and they're not chemicals, right? That's a basic rule. So,
Okay.
for example, if I'm buying bread, I look for ingredients that I can understand. I look for ingredients that I know. For example, the bread that we have here at home is like it's Ezekiel, you say in English,
Mhm.
and it has lentils, it has barley, it has wheat, it has tons of ingredients that you know where they came from, you know what they are. So that's basically my rule. But as I said, I mean, my husband buys a lot of things that are not only with 5 ingredients. But instead, you know what happens is that it took me a long time to be here, and I fought a lot with my kids. I fought a lot with my cousin, with my husband, and just trying to find like a neutral place, because I know that my friends took my kids for ice cream, and I was like, oh no, the why are you taking, instead of looking the whole thing, like, okay, they're with friends, they're having a fun time, they're doing everything. I focused on that, why did you give my kid ice cream, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
or my kid wanted to try a chocolate bar and he hid from me because he wanted to eat the chocolate bar because he know that I was going to be mad at him. So I truly believe that we are a whole, we're mind, body, and soul, and everything has to be in balance. So sometimes being mad at him or generating the fear of me being mad at him is worse than the chocolate bar, right? So it all comes to a balance.
What a great realization. That is so beautiful. Because
Yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely, yes, that's wonderful that you understand that it's more important, the whole
Yeah,
overall experience. But
it is.
I want to go back to that because I love that you have an ebook to help us to just
Yes.
introduce more plants, and you have all these amazing recipes on your website. So that's just wow. And that you're doing it in Spanish, because I know that we have an epidemic in the Latino community with diabetes and some other illnesses that are really influenced by
Yep,
our diet. So,
totally.
yeah.
And it's sad because if we look at the basic diet that we as Latin people had. It was so
Mhm.
uh, clean and full of whole ingredients, and not vegetarian or vegan or whatever, but just we ate a lot of fruit and vegetables. We ate a lot of whole ingredients, and now it's all mixed up, and
Yeah.
it's sad that we're losing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree because there's a lot of diabetes in my family. And I thankfully I didn't get the sweet tooth. I love the cheese, but a lot of people in my
Yeah.
family really love all the sugar and yeah, it's not.
Well, another thing that I realized when I started like eating healthier and including more vegetables and fruits and everything into my diet is that you realize how your palate changes and how your cravings change, because your body knows, right, what's good for you. And if everybody just gave it a try and see how you feel, it 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 really would make a difference.
No, I absolutely agree because I know there are times when I'm like, okay, I just need to eat salads for a few days because I've been really bad, and and
I
I
know,
feel
and you
better,
feel
and I
sluggish. Yeah, you feel
yes.
sluggish. You feel like sleepy. And when you start eating fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff, you feel different. You have like different
Mhm.
energy, right? Energy levels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I tell my other friends, I'm trying, I'm making progress. And what I think one of the best pieces of advice that I got from a friend of mine was she suggested, because I do love meat and I grew up eating it. And it's just, she said, you know, instead of making it the main event on your plate, make it a garnish.
Yeah,
So having,
totally.
and
Yeah,
I
that's
was
so
like,
smart.
oh, that's really good. So I have a little piece and I have all
Yeah.
my veggies and other stuff, and I'm still okay. So anyway, I
Yeah.
thought that was,
Yeah. And the same with cheese. I mean, you don't have to eliminate cheese from your diet, but you don't have to make it the main meal. You know what I mean?
oh,
It's like you can have like a, let's say, French onion soup. You can have your French onion soup, and instead of like pouring all the cheese, just add a little bit, and you have everything in there, right?
I have been trying. I've really been
Yeah,
making an
that's
effort.
good.
Yeah, I really have. So, see, I needed to
Yeah.
talk to you for me because I'm like, I'm really trying to do this.
I mean,
So,
just celebrate the small wins. If you
yeah,
do it for one meal, that's amazing. Probably next day you'll do it for two, or I mean, it's the small things.
yeah. So, I wanted to talk to you briefly about your photography because I know you're taking your own photos and they're
Yes.
so.
Thank
So,
you.
how did you learn to do that?
As I said at the beginning, I'm really stubborn. So I was like, I have to learn. So I'm a self-taught photographer. I I studied arts in college, so my major is in arts. But I think that helped me with the eye and the balance and the composition and all of that. But just trying. So I started with a camera that my dad wasn't using anymore, and he gave it. It was a hand me down, a point and shoot. And I tried and tried and tried and tried and watched every single video on YouTube. And then I started enrolling, bought books, reading about photography. I started like buying tons of cookbooks to study the photography, follow photographers. And I think that one thing that really helped me is that every time I took a picture and I started to edit it, I have a notebook. I still do. I have a notebook on the side, and I criticize. You say criticize? Yes. My own photography. So I'm like, for example, if I'm doing tacos, it's like, oh, I need to stuff more the tacos, add more garnish, watch out the colors and stuff like that. And I still do. So I go back from time to time. And now um, I took in creative life, I took a course on food photography, and I recently bought another one. I haven't taken it, but I have to. Um, I think it's just having the will to improve every single day.
Oh, that's so okay. I'm inspired now because I try and then I go, oh, really? It's not. So okay, right. I love
No, and
that you're
it's like
criticized that
trying.
you are learning from your own work. That is
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, and I'm obsessed with cookbooks. I mean, I have a huge collection of cookbooks, and I buy them obviously for the recipes, for the author, and also for the food photography. So I look at photographers that I like, and then I Google which other cookbooks have they shot. And so, I mean, I love it. I love it. It's like my creative cooking and photography. It's my totally creative outlet. So I love it. I love it.
that's outstanding. Okay, so what have been some of the biggest surprises since you started down this path with your website and all the work that you're doing in this area?
um, surprises like
Yeah, what's happened? Yeah.
um, I've met amazing people along the way. What else? I never thought it was this amount of work to be online.
Yes.
That's a huge surprise, right? Because everybody thinks it's like, oh, an hour and you're done. It's like, no,
No,
it's
no,
a lot
no.
of work.
Never
Yeah.
done.
No, never, never, never done. I think also I also discovered that I love to work. I've always known that I love to work, but I love to achieve things and to teach and to inspire people. That's been a huge surprise. I never thought I had that in me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And what have been some of the challenges that you've faced?
Um, I think that one of the, well, two, like time, as I said, it takes a lot of time, and it takes me a lot of time because I like it to be perfect and to be aligned and to be like the perfect color and everything. So for me, time. And but I think that well, it's also with being an entrepreneur, right? Because you have to, I work at the soccer field, I work before a game, I'm like answering comments on the school before the show starts. I don't know, like it's always working and organizing yourself. So time has been a big factor that I don't have the amount of time that I wish to. I mean, I have 3 kids and I'm also a mom and have my house and everything. So, and the other thing is language, because I had to learn how to, I know I've been speaking English and I was young, but my main language is Spanish. English is my second language. So obviously, you know how to speak English and everything, but I didn't know how to speak it or write it cooking wise, like how do you say the order of the ingredients or how to call them or how to all of that. So language is also has been a challenge for me.
You speak wonderful English. Yes,
Thank
you
you.
do. Definitely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're doing very well. So our time is almost up. So is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners?
um No, like to just try a new vegetable a day, involve your kids, your family. Just keep trying. I mean, it's nothing like you're done. There's always room for improvement. And one thing that I've learned being vegan and plant-based is that you always think that your choices, your recipes, and everything are going to be limited. And it's totally the opposite. When you go vegan and start learning more about produce and spices and all of this wonderful plant based world, you're going to learn how vast it is. I mean, I had no idea that there were more than 800 different types of legumes, or that there were so many types of rice and so many spices. And so it's a huge world, and it's worth diving into it.
Oh boy, 800 different types. I did not know that.
I
Wow.
know it's crazy, right? It's
It's
crazy. I mean,
crazy.
there's so many types of lentils, so many types of beans. It's impressive.
Well, Alejandra, it has been so wonderful to chat with you. I'm inspired. I'm like, okay,
Thank you.
I'm totally inspired. I'm like, okay, I have to make some lentils. I haven't made some in a while, so
Yeah,
it's
they're
going
so
down.
good.
They're so good. But it has been absolutely a joy to chat with you. Continued
Thank
success, and thank you for being on our podcast.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being so nice and so open and to inviting me to your podcast. Thank you.
All right. And for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to add the most important ingredient to every recipe you make, your love. And as my mama always said to me as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga. May God bless you and be well.